How's it hanging, fellow nerds? It's me, your boy, Corby Raridan, and welcome back to a new episode of Nerd Central. Still feels so surreal to say that, but I hope you're all doing well because I know I'm doing great. Speaking of something else that's great, let's get into today's news. To start, we finally have a teaser for the new Mandalorian project, and it looks like a pretty good movie. Wait. Movie? Hold on, let me check my notes. Wow, it will be a movie. In the teaser, we got to see many fan-favorite things, such as the Razor Crest, a live-action version of the fan-favorite Star Wars Rebels character Zeb, and Sigourney Weaver in a new role in the Star Wars franchise. So far, the movie is slated for May of next year, so keep an eye out for that movie. Up next, we have some anime news, and it's sure to make you smile, because we're talking about Studio Ghibli movies. But Corby, there aren't any new movies from them releasing. Yes, I hear you, my loyal viewers, but it's not about a new film. It's about a new research study that has been made about their films. According to CBR, studies show that watching Studio Ghibli movies makes people happier by invoking nostalgia and making them feel calm. Honestly, I agree. Every time I watch Princess Mononoke or Kiki's Delivery Service, I always feel a sense of happiness and joy from the art style. If you've never watched a Studio Ghibli film, I highly recommend viewing one, as they are amazing. Finally, for our news, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure finally has its next installment approaching. But there is one catch. Netflix has confirmed that the new show will stream exclusively on their platform, leading fans to jokingly say that they will kill the show by having it be available only on Netflix, while others are hoping it's not released in batches and returns to weekly episodes. Regardless of the decision to be exclusive to Netflix, many people are still excited for Steel Ball Run to finally make it to an anime adaptation. And that just about does it for the news. Some good stuff as of late that was going around, and honestly, I'm excited to see more stuff from the pop culture world. Speaking of good stuff, let's check out the packs for this week.
Hey everyone, my name is Josh Oswald, and welcome to Mole Movies, where every week I watch a movie that's somewhat underappreciated, underground, or straight up forgotten about, and then I give you my thoughts on them and what I like so much about them. Don't worry, I won't be pulling any 1923 Serbian silent films told from the perspective of a sad shoelace, but we might get there eventually. So with all that out of the way, let's get talking about today's film, Children of Men, directed by Alfonso Cuarón and released in the US on December 25th, 2006. Set in the near future, 2027, the entire world has mysteriously become infertile, and a former political activist, Theo Farron, must escort the only pregnant woman in the world. However, she's an illegal immigrant. It might sound inherently political, and you would be absolutely correct. This film is very overt with its messages. But that is not necessarily a bad thing, especially if it's done as masterfully as this. For example, the film is almost shot like a documentary with these long, immersive handheld scenes that go on for minutes at a time, making the conflicts and aesthetic of the world feel extremely real and tangible. Another example is in the visual storytelling through the framing in this film. There's a scene where Theo needs to get transport papers to, unbeknownst to him at the time, transport the pregnant immigrant lady, whose name is Key. There's a flying pig balloon in the background that is extremely reminiscent of the album Animals by Pink Floyd, which has commentary on the political and social climate of Britain through representations of animals. And the animal used to represent the greedy is, you guessed it, pigs, and it's right there on the album cover. To sprinkle in some more context regarding the film's plot, Theo is recruited by his former partner in a slightly extreme manner to help a political activist group called the Fishes. All they really want from him are transport papers that he can get from his upper-class friend. What gets him to commit to transporting Key is when he meets her and discovers the pregnancy, but also the only papers he could get his hands on were joint transport papers, meaning someone would have to be a legal citizen and guide her the whole way. This involvement in the transportation is what makes Theo's transformation throughout the film so influential on the audience. We meet him as an apathetic and defeated member of society who accepts the seemingly inevitable apocalypse until he's directly impacted by it and then is basically called to act on his conscience and help out, not for the sake of just himself or the baby, but the world. Then finally, the reason I chose to speak on this film and what I find so underappreciated about it, especially at this time. I believe it is apolitical to say that when it comes to immigration in America, the country is divided, and that's an understatement. There's a trillion motifs layered throughout, however, the primary theme of the film is the immigration commentary. The film highlights not only the stress that comes with the process, but also how humanizing it makes the topic, and provides the perspective on how in a world devoid of life, a miracle must be subdued because of government overreach and the sickening choice of choosing greed and division over life, and the future of us as a species. However, I'm gonna have to leave it there. This film has a lot of depth, so it's difficult to cover all of the subject matter. Watch this where you can and form your own opinion. I would give Children of Men a 10 out of 10, and I highly recommend this to anyone who enjoyed films like 1917, Snowpiercer, and Logan. Thanks for watching, and see you next week.
Welcome everyone to another episode of the Rogues Gallery, where every week we take a fictional villain and we dissect and break down their motivations and origins. This week we're going to go visit Scar from the 1994 Disney musical, The Lion King. Set in the animal kingdom where tensions arise, let's get into it. Jealousy. The term or phrase described as feeling or showing envy of someone and of their achievements or advantages. This trait also tends to involve greediness, lack of sympathy, and selfishness. Nowhere does this fit more than into the story of Scar, a lion whose desire for power led him against his own family. Scar's hatred mainly stemmed around his brother Mufasa, who had everything that he could have wanted. In the prequel movie, Mufasa, the Lion King, from 2024, it dives into the relationship between a young Scar and a young Mufasa. It shows at a young age, Mufasa was swept away from his family during a flood and was found by Scar's pride. As they grew up together, Scar and Mufasa were put against each other to see who could be the next king of the Pride Lands. They were challenged to prove who was worthy of this position. Ultimately, Scar could never keep up with Mufasa. Mufasa was always stronger and faster than Scar could have ever been. This is where Scar's villainous story originally starts. He attempted to betray Mufasa several times, but never could stop him from becoming the king. Even with the betrayals, Scar was never kicked out of the Pride Lands by his brother, but instead he went to live in the elephant graveyard with the hyenas. Scar had power over the hyenas, but it still wasn't enough, and he wanted the Pride Lands. He knew there would only be one way to become king, and that would have to be to get rid of his brother. But then, Simba, Mufasa's youngest, was born. Simba now became the next rightful heir to the throne and got in the way of Scar, which made it impossible for him to become king. He created a plan to not only kill his brother, but to kill his nephew as well, so that this way he could claim the throne and rule over the Pride Lands. After creating one of the most iconic animated scenes in Disney movies, after this, he was finally triumphant, and there was nobody in his way. He finally had all the power, and he ruled the Pride Lands. This is what they called the famine. He let the hyenas run wild and let their hunting go unchecked, which completely ruined the ecosystem. Unknowingly to Scar, Simba had survived and had been growing up this whole time. Eventually, Scar was defeated by Simba, and in the midst of their battle, he was thrown down to his hyena pack. And ironically, Scar was their last meal. Scar was a living embodiment of jealousy, not only because he wanted everything his brother had had, but because he would do everything he needed to do to get it. He was willing to kill and murder his own family members for the power he craved. This all led to his death. I want to thank you all again for revisiting me this week to break down another fictional villain. If you enjoy the Marvel Cinematic Universe, come back next week where we'll be breaking down Loki. I hope everyone enjoyed another episode of the Rogues Gallery.
For over 100 years, the Northwest Missourian has been the cornerstone of campus life and the greater Maryville community, covering topics that have shaped our society and capturing the history of Northwest Missouri's life. The award-winning publication continues to act as a primary source of topical news, spanning several generations of college students. The Northwest Missourian, covering campus and community.
Like the old saying goes,
out with the old, in with the new.
New Game Plus, your new place for everything video game
and tech related. With new wacky shenanigans
and new packs from your new crew.
So get ready, we're skipping the tutorial with this one.
So watch New Game Plus right here,
Tuesdays at noon on KNWT.
In a world of monster trucks, some stand out not just for raw power, but for character, for presence, for personality. Welcome back to Legends of Destruction. Today, we unleash the snarling, tail-wagging icon known as Monster Mutt. Debuting in 2003, Monster Mutt was unlike anything fans had ever seen. Built on the frame of a 1950 Mercury, it combined the strength of a monster truck with the playful look of a man's best friend, complete with floppy ears, sharp teeth, a waggling tongue, and even a studded collar. From day one, it brought personality to the dirt.
Don't let the floppy ears fool you. This Mercury mutt barks out 1,460 horsepower. This car-crushing canine runs around on 5-foot-tall tires that keep its 4-ton frame in line. Monster Mutt is nearly 13 feet wide, 10 feet tall, and almost 16 feet long, not including his tail.
Driven by Todd Frolick in its debut season, Monster Mutt made waves right out of the gate, even earning a spot at the 2003 Monster Jam World Finals. Fans weren't just watching a truck, they were watching a character come to life. The idea caught on so well that Monster Jam expanded the pack. Soon, the original was joined by Monster Mutt Dalmatian, Monster Mutt Rottweiler, and even Monster Mutt Junkyard Dog. And Monster Mutt proved it wasn't just a gimmick. In 2010, Charlie Pauken drove it to victory at the Monster Jam World Finals, capturing the Freestyle Championship and solidifying its place among the greats. As the years went on, Monster Mutt continued to evolve. In 2016, it got a 3D body upgrade, giving its ears, snout, and tongue even more life. Just like Bulldozer before it, Mutt showed that monster trucks could be more than machines. They could have character, charisma, and personality. From its Mercury roots to its family of spin-offs, from championship runs to waggling its own way into kids' hearts, Monster Mutt became more than a monster truck. It became a fan favorite, a spectacle, a true legend of destruction.
Hello, my name is Corby Raridan, and welcome back to Now Screaming. I'm so glad to see that you actually came back. Now, I'm actually really excited to talk about today's movie, which is... What was that? Hello? Who's there?
Let us in. We just want to talk.
Yeah, I think it's best if I keep that door locked for now. But without further ado, let's get into today's movie, which is Knock at the Cabin. Knock at the Cabin is a 2023 apocalyptic psychological thriller. The movie was an adaptation from a 2018 novel called The Cabin at the End of the World, written by Paul G. Tremblay. The screenplay was written by 3 people, including the director of the movie, the one and only M. Night Shyamalan. The movie is based around a family of 3 that vacations to a remote cabin in the woods. Things are peaceful until a group of 4 strangers with weapons show up outside their door demanding they be let in. Once they let themselves in, they tie up and tell our main characters that they must make the most important decision in all of humanity. That decision being which one of them will die in order to prevent the world from ending. Although the story might sound a little insane, I found it to be such a breath of fresh air for the horror movie scene. Not just because of its more uncommon setting, taking place mostly during the day, surrounded by the cheery bright greens of nature, but also by its somewhat mysterious plot that keeps you questioning what to really believe. I was floored by this movie and loved its way of telling the story, bringing in a set of seemingly crazy characters and humanizing them as the movie began to unravel. The movie runs for 100 minutes and wastes absolutely none of that time. And without further ado, let's get to the PGS scale. Plot. I loved this story quite a bit. This movie wasn't trying to make things over the top or convoluted like many other M. Night films, and keeps things pretty ambiguous. This keeps you flipping sides until the very end. It even serves as a fun rewatch knowing what the twist is, and gives you more details to appreciate the second time around. Because of that, I give it a solid 4 out of 5. Gore. There are a couple of deaths in this movie, and they're pretty tame when compared to normal horror movie standards. But these deaths hold more weight to the plot than the average guy being killed off in a slasher. So due to that, I give it a score of 3 out of 5. Scares. As far as scares go, this one was not too bad. A jump scare here and there with some of the action throughout this thing keeping me on my toes. 3 out of 5. That gives Knock at the Cabin a PGS rating of 3.3 out of 5. And that is all for this episode of Now Screaming. I hope you had fun, and I'll see you next time. We've sadly reached the end of today's episode. Dang it! Don't fret, as you can catch us next week at the same time if you like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload from us. I've been your host, Corby Raridan, and I'll see you nerds next week. Stay nerdy!